So today, no live reaction, just a chapter review of Bleach, chapter 630. Now, this chapter is very simple, very straightforward. You have the first part, which is nothing but Naklevar and Grimmjow. Then the second part, which is like the bulk of the chapter, which is Baz-B and Haschwalth, and that's it. That's the chapter, in a nutshell. So, let's talk about the first part real quick. The first part was amusing, because Naklevar is a funny dude. Alright, like, he does not want to go, like, toe for toe with Grimmjow. In fact, he states that he wants to do this covert, stealth-like. Like, really. So, even though he was on top of a building, watching Ichigo and company run through some alleyway, scratching his head like, fuck. You know what? I really don't want to do Ichigo. Even though he was doing that, he wanted to do this shit covert. Like, that makes no sense, bro. Like, you would think a guy who wanted to do covert shit would be, like, in the corner, in, like, the shadow somewhere, like, with, like, a hoodie, like, dun 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 dun. Like, that's what you would think, but no, absolutely not. This guy had a spotlight on his ass, like, yeah, fucking Ichigo, I don't want to deal with this guy anymore. So I'm not buying that. Alright? No one's buying your bullshit right now. I'm sorry. You can paint a turd gold. It's still a shit. Now, Grimmjow, what he did in the chapter was fascinating. And it shows you that he actually became more powerful. Because he doesn't do like a full-blown transformation, resurrection form. No. He actually transforms his hands into claws. Panther claws. Or whatever. Pseudo-panther claws. I don't know. But that's what he's using now as like his main weapon. And it's kind of cool because I think what he's doing is like a pseudo-resurrection on his hands alone at this point in time, because in his mind that's all he needs to take out Naklevar. Though we know that Naklevar, he's more difficult than that, but still it's impressive, and it shows you that he's actually gained greater control over his powers. Now, is he actually, like, I don't know where we can put him at a power scale yet, because he doesn't unleash his full power, but seeing that in this chapter lets me know that there's a chance, a possibility, that he actually does have a second resurrection form. There's a good chance of that. Now, moving on to the second half of the chapter. We don't see Giselle or Lampert, but the second half, again, is mainly Baz-B and Haschwalth. And there's some guy who's talking to Haschwalth, talking about Uryu. And he states pretty much that Juha has commanded, I forgot what they call the group. I call them we them boys, plus Uryu. They are ordered to go to certain locations and to stop the advances of the enemy. Now, this to me I think is a good sign, because we know that there are 5, so there's not going to be like any like let's say like 2 Star Knights against like Kyaku's party. No, it's going to be one person, because that's how Juha wanted it. He wanted one dude in like every area. And this probably means that the areas that are not occupied by enemies right now in the future will be occupied by enemies. So, what does that mean? Well, basically you have Ichigo and company, they're one group. You have Kenpachi and Mairi and company, they're another group. Then you have Kyaku and like that giant party, they're the third group. So there's 3 groups. So there's 3 we them, or there's 1 we them for each group. So that means that there's 2 more we them remaining. Who's taking on these last 2? Well, I figure that in the future, we know that at some point, even though I hate them, Kugo and the other Fullbringer dudes, they're going to come in, like, do their own thing, because we saw Ganju training with Kugo, the butler dude, at Kukaku's place. So, I got the feeling that at some point in the future, because Kukaku, she did have that cannon, and the cannon could actually reach the Soul King Palace area. So, I got a feeling that Kukaku is going to actually, like, come up there with like Kugo and the butler dude. So that may happen, and they may go to like another area, and then finally, and then like the last area, I got the feeling that it's actually going to be Ishin, and maybe even Ryuken. Because, in all honesty, Ryuken, he's a Quincy. He should have some... There should be something going on with Ryuken, because his lord, his majesty, has taken over the Soul King Palace. And the real world is being... The real / living / human world is being affected by Juha's actions. So everyone's in danger. So Ryuken has to now come into the story in full. So I got the feeling, and it's a little bit crazy, but hear me out. I got the feeling that maybe Ishin has been spending time with Ryuken, maybe like Keigo and like the other human, like that batch of people. Where since they've been near Ichigo, they have attained some level of like spirit awareness and spiritual power. So they are like kind of trained by Ishin, because Ishin, maybe he's training people to like actually go and assist Ichigo and company. And that also would, and this I think is a huge stretch. I mean, it's already a huge stretch, but like this is like an even further stretch. But remember how Kubo, he stated that Ichigo's little sister had her powers, like they were blooming ever since he lost his powers. And Kubo never did anything with that. Like, what the fuck? Oh, okay, so her powers blossom ever since his powers were nerfed during that Fullbring arc. And then once he gets his powers back, his little sister, nothing. Fucking meaningless. So, if Kubo wants to be, creative, if he wants to put in some shock value into this whole situation, that'd be fairly surprising. Having like Ichigo's like little sister come up there and like, I don't know, just do something. But still there nonetheless, because if they're not there, understand all three realms are fucked if they don't do anything against Juha. Juha will have no mercy. Zero. So it's either do or die. So you have to bring all your cards. And on Ishin's part, even though his daughter is going to be quite a risky card, because he doesn't want his daughter to get hurt, obviously. But the fact of the matter is that they're all going to die if they don't do something. So again, Ishin's daughter, alright, Ichigo's sister, a huge stretch. But at least Ishin, and hopefully at least Ryuken, in like the third sector, taking on another member of Weedem. So that's possible, I think. And then it's also explained after this guy gets taken out, because Haschwalth doesn't trust Uyu for shit. He just really doesn't. He hasn't been that... Okay, basically, keep it simple, he hasn't spent that much time with His Majesty. He hasn't really shown his earnest loyalty to their faction. Therefore, he can't trust them full on. He was going to send this one dude to watch Uryu. No, in comes Baz-B. And Baz-B explains how he's going to kill Haschwalth, not only because he's a traitor, but also because the powers of Juha, when it's nighttime, go to Haschwalth. So that was fascinating, because there's some weird, like, balance, color contrast going on there, where daytime is considered like it's considered to be light, and during that time Juha wears all black, and he has the bulk of the powers. But that shifts over to Haschwalth at night, who wears all white, and it's a part of, I guess, Haschwalth's balancing scheme, if you would, his powers. So when his magic can rest, he can take over the fold and pretty much be like the night watch, like the watchers on the wall. No, he can be the guardian of the night. That's who he is, to make sure that His Majesty is safe and sound and can sleep well. And that's a very fascinating concept there. And Bazz-B is going to try and kill Haschwalth, because that's where the power shifts over at night. Now, I'm not too sure if that still applies anymore, because this applied when Juha, like, remember when he was fighting against Yamamoto? Or, Yamato? Genryusai, shit, goddammit. He's fighting against Genryusai. And after that fight, he had to go back into the Quincy realm, like the Shadow realm. Well, there was a time limit there. And the whole time limit concept probably was the reason why the power shifted over to Haschwalth during the night. But I don't know if that still applies now, because he has changed the entire realm to be his Quincy world. Furthermore, he has the powers of the Soul King. So I don't know if, in genuine, all the powers that Juha has will transfer over to Haschwalth. Like, I doubt that, because he's so powerful now, he wouldn't need to have these time constraints. At least that's the way I see it. Who knows? But a very fascinating concept there. And Baz-B actually not doing that bad at all. Actually, they had a cross-counter thing where they both got wounded, and with the burner finger. And we find out that Baz-B can't actually use his complete holy form anymore because of the Haschwalth, you know, when Juha took the powers and he gave it to We Them Boys. So he can still use his other skills, like burner finger, like 1 through 5, possibly 10, I don't know. But the whole thing is Baz-B is not defenseless. Like, he's not weaponless, obviously. But Haschwalth still has the edge over him. That's very obvious, because he still has his complete holy form. And he also may get the powers of Juha if, you know, if that concept still exists and it becomes full-on nighttime. And if that happens, Baz-B isn't beating Juha. Unless Lampert and Giselle are waiting in the corner. But even still, they're not beating Haschwalth. They're just not. It's not possible. So, I'm done. The chapter overall, fascinating, informative, and it does set up some pretty good groundwork for the future. So overall, the chapter rating, good plus, and I will see you guys later. Rate the video, comment, subscribe. Have a nice one.